They say that if you walk near the abandoned Hollow Creek Orphanage after midnight, you'll hear them, children's voices, soft and distant, singing an old lullaby that no one remembers learning. The locals stay away. They don't go near the gates after dark, because those who do often join the song. The story begins with Clara Winters, a young journalist from a small-town newspaper. She had made a name for herself writing about forgotten places, ghost towns, collapsed mills, old train tunnels, but this assignment felt different. The orphanage had burned down in 1968, taking with it 32 children and 2 caretakers. The fire department blamed faulty wiring. The survivors, if there were any, never came forward. Clara wasn't looking for ghosts. She wanted truth. Her editor handed her a faded manila folder, filled with reports and old black and white photos.
"Locals won't talk,"
he said.
"But if you can get something real out of this story, maybe you'll get that promotion you've been chasing."
She drove to Hollow Creek the next morning. The road leading to the orphanage twisted through fog and pine trees so tall they blocked out the sky. Her GPS flickered. The air grew heavy. When she reached the gates, they were rusted shut, half hidden by ivy. A single sign hung loosely from one chain link, "Closed. Do not enter." Clara hesitated, but curiosity won. She slipped through a gap in the fence and stepped inside. The courtyard was littered with debris. A broken swing hung from a metal frame, creaking softly in the wind. The main building stood tall, though its roof had caved in long ago. Inside, the smell of soot and mildew was overpowering. Her flashlight cut through the dust, revealing peeling wallpaper and charred furniture. On the walls were faint markings, children's handprints, some smeared, some blackened by smoke. As she explored the hallway, she found a small classroom. Scorched desks, a cracked chalkboard, and a melted globe were all that remained. She knelt to take a photo when something caught her eye, a small music box, perfectly intact, sitting atop a pile of rubble. When she turned the handle, it began to play. A faint, haunting lullaby drifted through the silence. Clara froze. The melody was simple, almost beautiful, until she realized she'd heard it before. From outside, faint and distant, came the same tune, sung softly by what sounded like children. She dropped the music box. It clattered to the ground, the song ending abruptly. The whispering voices faded with it. Determined to uncover more, Clara searched through the orphanage office. Papers were scattered everywhere, attendance sheets, donation records, letters. But then she found a small leather-bound journal, charred at the edges. Inside were the writings of Evelyn Merrow, one of the orphanage caretakers. The entries began innocently.
"The children have been restless lately. They talk about voices in the walls. The youngest, Emily, says a woman comes to her window at night and hums her to sleep."
As the entries continued, the tone grew darker.
"I hear the song too now. It's always the same tune. Always the same words. The children sing it in their sleep."
The final entry was dated the night before the fire.
"The singing won't stop. They're outside my door. If anyone finds this, do not let them sing your name."
Clara's hands trembled as she closed the diary. A cold draft blew through the room, extinguishing her lantern. Then, from the hallway, she heard it again, soft voices. Singing. Her flashlight flickered as she crept toward the sound. The voices were clearer now, echoing through the burned corridors. She followed them to what used to be the dormitory. Rows of metal bed frames stood in perfect formation, their sheets long gone. In the far corner, a faint glow pulsed like candlelight. As she approached, she saw small figures standing near the windows. They were pale, translucent, and their faces were blurred as though hidden by fog. They were children. They swayed as they sang that same lullaby. Clara stepped back, her heart pounding. "Who's there?" she whispered. The singing stopped. All the figures turned toward her in unison. Then, one by one, they vanished. The air went still again except for the faint creak of the swing outside. Clara fled the building, stumbling through the overgrown yard until she reached her car. Her hands shook as she fumbled with her keys. When she started the engine, her headlights illuminated a man standing in the road ahead. He wore a tattered coat, and his eyes were hollow.
"You shouldn't have come here,"
he said. His voice was raspy, almost like a whisper through static.
"I'm just researching."
Clara said, trying to sound calm.
"What happened to the children?"
"They never left.
He replied.
And now that they've sung for you, they know your name."
Before she could respond, he stepped backward into the fog and was gone. Her phone buzzed suddenly. The screen flashed to life. A notification appeared. Voice message received. When she pressed play, all she heard was that same lullaby. Over the next few days, strange things began happening. Clara returned home, but she couldn't sleep. Every night, she heard the faint sound of children singing outside her window. She tried recording it, but when she played it back, all she heard was static until the final seconds, when a child's voice whispered,
"Clara."
Panicked, she returned to her notes, comparing the melody to old folklore. What she discovered was chilling. In the 1800s, before the orphanage was built, the land had been the site of a mass burial, children from a nearby mining village who had died from disease. Locals believed their spirits lingered, bound to the place by grief and loneliness. And when the orphanage was built on that very ground, they found new voices to sing through. Determined to end it, Clara went back to Hollow Creek one last time. The orphanage loomed in the fog, even darker than before. She carried a recorder, hoping to capture proof, something real. Inside, the halls were alive with whispers. The lullaby echoed faintly, growing louder with every step. In the main hall, she found the children again. Dozens of them. Their faces clearer now, their eyes glowing faintly like embers. They began to sing. Clara covered her ears, but the sound wasn't coming from the air. It was in her head, her chest, her very breath. When she looked up, one of the children stood apart from the rest, a little girl holding the same music box she had found days before.
"Do you want to be remembered?"
The girl asked softly. Clara shook her head, backing away. The girl smiled.
"Then you shouldn't have listened."
The box clicked open by itself, and the song began once more. Days later, the local sheriff found Clara's car parked by the orphanage gate. Inside was her recorder, still running. The last thing it captured was faint breathing and the sound of singing, then silence. Her notes were recovered from her apartment, but they made little sense. Pages filled with lyrics, circles drawn around names, and one phrase written again and again. "They know me now." The sheriff sealed off the area once again. But a few weeks later, a group of teenagers broke in for a dare. None of them came back. Months later, a late-night radio DJ in the next town received an anonymous email. Attached was an audio file with no subject line. Out of curiosity, he played it on air. Listeners described hearing the faint sound of children singing. The next morning, the station went silent. Every DJ who had been in the booth that night was missing. All that was found was a single note on the console. "Now you'll remember us." If you ever find yourself near the old Hollow Creek Road and hear the sound of children singing, stop. Don't hum along. Don't listen too closely. And whatever you do, don't say your name out loud. Because once they know it, you'll join their song. Forever. What do you think really happened at Hollow Creek? Were they lost souls, or something darker pretending to be children? Let us know your theory in the comments. And if you enjoyed this chilling story, like, share, and subscribe for more eerie tales that will keep you awake at night. Because sometimes, what you hear in the dark is already calling your name.